Cody, what's up, bro? How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me, man. Super excited. I've watched your show a ton for like forever. So
Sick, dude.
I don't know,
Dude,
like last 6 months you showed up in my feed. So
sick. So I've been actually seeing you on Twitter past year, nonstop sharing crazy growth hacks, growth ideas, business ideas. So super stoked that you're on here, dude. Thanks for coming on.
hosting me, man. Excited to be here. Hopefully provide some value. We'll see though.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I've seen you go on other podcasts and talk about different business ideas that you create today. But I'd rather focus on growth because I know you're big on growth, big on distribution as well. What are the biggest opportunities and channels that people are sleeping on? So how does that sound? Is that cool?
Yeah, man. I'm happy to go there. Do you want to go B2C or B2B or like what direction you want to head in?
Let's go. Let's hit the questions first, and then you decide where it goes.
Cool. Sounds good.
But before we do that, could you tell us a little bit about your background? I know you're currently working on Swell AI. How's that going? How did you get there? What's the journey been like?
Yeah, absolutely. So started out in e-com. I was like, every degenerate kid and was like, how do I sell things on the internet and make money?
Yeah.
Somehow ended up working for, it was like one of those early Amazon affiliate, like conglomerate companies where they would just like build out, thousands of these websites that were basically just like review pages. This was back in 2013, I think is when I initially got involved with them. But fast forward, ended up in e-com from that, then worked at a B2B marketing agency. My boss there had gone to like Y Combinator, did the whole thing, went out to San Francisco, saw God, came back and was selling it to S&P 500 companies. So my role there was a lot of digital strategy. They would be like, hey, and it was like the most unsexy businesses that you can imagine. So they're my favorite actually because of this, like working in that world. But imagine like, shower-based manufacturers, like window manufacturers, door manufacturers, just like the ugliest companies from the outside. Like,
but those guys make money, huh?
Dude, they print. It's insane. And the budgets they would give. I remember I got this test budget for print chefs where I'm like, this is the most insane thing I've ever seen. They're like, yeah, just spend it. We just want data. And I'm like, okay, well, give me 7 days and I'll come back to you with a data set. So, but yeah, so there kind of learned the B2B side of things, especially like when it's like the purchasing time horizon, like that decision-making process is longer. How do you facilitate, that being in front of people, continuing to sell them, doing that marketing consistently. And then from there, I left that org, was doing some consulting. My friend called me. He was working at this company called Rupa Health. He was like, hey, I need your help. Can you come like help me grow this thing? So they were a funded company. It was super early. I got hired as employee 6, but we ended up taking them from a $20 million valuation to a $110 million valuation in about 6 months. And it was insane. Yeah, it's one of those kind of sleeper companies. But anyway, they were a marketplace for especially lab test ordering. So we kind of were a 3-sided marketplace where you had like physicians, you had patients, and then you had the lab companies that we were working with. And we were, kind of this, again, just a marketplace in between all of them. But we realized really early on, like selling to physicians is like, as everybody knows, that's done any marketing work, one of the hardest things in the world because they're constantly being sold because they have like a high income. And so we realized that we were going to have to build like a media arm of the company. And so that's where we spent basically all of our time. We spun up a podcast. It's called the Root Cause Medicine Podcast. I think it's now like a top 20 medical podcast in the US. We took it from like 0 to 180,000 downloads a month in about 6 months. We spun up a newsletter for them, spun up a like a live class session, and then we take all that content, repurpose it into all these different media forms. So turn it into blog posts, turn it into shorts, turn it into any other form of media that we wanted. And that is really what led to Swell AI. So Swell is kind of what we're focusing on most currently. My co-founder and I, Max, we met at Rupa. But Swell is basically AI content repurposing, it's content repurposing powered by AI. So you give it a long form video like this, chops it up into clips, blog posts, newsletters. You can publish directly, to all the channels that you're trying to distribute out through. So it'll you can do social scheduling, publish it right to WordPress, et cetera. So and that's kind of where we're at.
This is not an affiliated conversation at all, but I've been using Swell AI to create blog posts from videos, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good,
dude. Love to hear it. We built the prompt chaining. I mean, we're just like getting more models into it. And as the higher caliber models get into it, and you build out a prompt chain, it creates pretty good content, especially when you're like, I mean, one that we like kind of champion for our clients is basically you provide the we create the transcript for you. It's about a 99% accuracy. And then we're like, okay, create a detailed blog post outline based on this transcript. Now write the blog post and include, quotes from the episode. And just using Claude Sonnet. And I mean, it's like 95% of the way there from like what
it's
I would
really
get
solid.
from a
Yeah.
writer. So anyway,
yeah, it's probably the best one I've tried, and I've tried a fuck ton of them. So congrats,
man.
That's really good.
I appreciate it, brother. Yeah, we're out here. So we're moving more and more into clips, but that's kind of our weak spot right now. But that's where we're headed. What we're really trying to figure out is like, we think we can automate some of these roles. Like, for example, like a social media manager. We think we can we're calling her Jenna internally of what we're building. But basically imagine like I give it all this long form content. It chops it up into clips. It does auto cropping. It adds captions. It schedules it out to all of my social channels. It publishes it. It looks at the data to see what is working most effectively. It goes back to your back catalog. It finds more clips like that. And then it creates this like flywheel. But we think we can do that for like social media management. We think we can do that for like an SEO specialist. We think we can do that for like a Google Ads specialist. And, it'll be like 50% of what a human can do. But if I can go and charge somebody $149 a month for this employee, right?
Incredible.
That's like a junior staff member. So anyways, we'll see where it goes, but that's kind of the idea.
Sick. So okay. So I know you're big on distribution. I've heard you say a few times that distribution is more important than the product itself. And we'll get into all the different channels. I have a bunch of different questions. But number one question I've had is, you're starting a brand new business. Let's say what would you do? So let's say it's either a SaaS or it's a service business. What channel are you picking? Like, if you could only pick one channel, what are you picking and what are you doing? So basically, where do you think the greatest potential is today?
Yeah. I mean, if I was hamstrung, cold email. That would
cold
be
email.
Just email. I would go all in on email.
Really?
People don't think this or like know this, but you can just write good content and email it to people and they will read it and then they will turn into leads. Like, it's like it's the dumbest thing ever. Right.
Right.
But again, cold email I think is the most underrated form of distribution to get off the ground. Like, most companies can get to $1 million ARR, especially if they're SaaS, with like cold email and then Facebook ads. Like, you can probably get
because I saw you had a post where you were saying you were sending like 100,000 cold emails in like a month. I don't know. Was it a month? Was it a day? I don't know.
Yeah. In a month.
How are you sending that many emails? How the hell?
I'll walk through the whole thing. So structurally, what you need to do. So right now, what we're seeing be the most effective is you can send about 30 cold emails per day per inbox that you're sending from. So the stack that we're using is you go and you buy, whatever that number is, 60 domains, I think is what it is, through Cloudflare. We're using Cloudflare because it's the easiest to set up, like DMARC records, SBF records, like all like really quickly. So you buy those domains and then you go and you either buy inboxes from Google's like G Suite or Microsoft 365 admin. So those inboxes cost like $6 a month, right? So, I won't do the public math, but what it ends up being around is about $200 a month to send like 100,000 cold emails. And then the other thing that you'll use, so you have the inboxes and then you go and you use Smart Lead. And Smart Lead is basically a cold email sending service. Instantly AI is also great as well. They both function. They're kind of in the same space. I just like Smart Lead because their API is more fleshed out. Everything I do on the agency side, we're building software behind the scenes to like augment, our team. Right. So it's like this whole thing that I'm talking about with like domains being purchased, inboxes being spun up, them going into Smart Lead for warming, etc. Like that whole thing is just software running, right? So it's like you can spin up, spin down these inboxes like it's nothing.
Incredible.
So then you warm those inboxes for like 15 to 20 business days. Smart Lead has that built into it. And at that point, you're like email sending ready. So from there, you just got to find leads, right? So there's tons of these services. You can use like the old school way where it's like I scrape Google Maps, I go and use Hunter.io, pull that out. You can go use Apollo. Go use Built With, etc. There's tons of data providers in this space. And you can basically, even Fiverr now, you can get these lists like pretty cheaply, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So get those email lists. You then validate them using a tool like Zero Bounce, and only send to valid emails. And then at that point, you make an email sequence. So what I am always trying to do with all the emails that I send is like thinking about it in like in sections. So it's like I'm trying to write a subject line that I know will get people to open it. And then once it's opened it, I'm trying to address something that's in their life. So for example, we're doing one of the clients that we're working with right now for this. They are a AI answering service for restaurants, like like people that call in to order takeout.
Yeah.
And so for them, we scraped everybody that uses Toast, like the POS, right?
Yep.
And what we are doing is the first line is like, hey, name, saw you using the Toast POS system. We built this tool called XYZ that answers your phone for you automatically. It takes your customer's order, inputs it into Toast, and blah, 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 kind of the core offering. Right below that, it's like we worked with company ABC, and it improved their revenues by 20% month over month after implementing us. Is this something interesting? Can we build you basically a custom AI chatbot and then some type of offer, either jump on a call, etc. And then basically a 3 email drip nurture. I just do them like 3 days in a row. So it's like email 1, email 2, email 3. And then it's just basically that same initial email and the second and the third one, just more concise, right? But trying to, get offers, throwing up a testimonial video can be super effective as well. Or just like getting them into, a product demo, like video within that nurture. But with that, I mean, we started for this company like 7 days ago. I just got a text from the founder like 2 days ago. And he's like, yo, like our inbound has basically like tripled since we started doing this. And it's like, they're a high ticket item, right? If they close one of these people, it's like 10K, of ARR for them. Or sorry, 10K of ARR, customer lifetime value is around like 25 grand or what their angle's at, which is again, crazy. But yeah, so as a company, especially if you're doing some type of search, like if I was 20 and like trying to figure out, well, how do I make money online, right? I would go and I would pick a category like automotive, right? And like, let's say automotive body shops or whatever, something I could find on Google Maps. And I would go and I would scrape all of Google Maps. You can go hire some dude on Fiverr to do this. They'll scrape everybody in the US for like $150. You get all of their URLs, go to Hunter.io, drop those in, find all of the emails, verify them or validate them with zero bounce. At that point, that whole setup that I just talked about on the cold email side, you drop those emails in, and I would just cold email them and be like, yo, I do unlimited Google ads for auto body shops. We set up everything, right? And it could be SEO, it could be local SEO services, whatever that ends up being, but something that's just like a service offering. And then you just charge $1 to $3K a month. I mean, if you're at $3K a month, you get 30 clients. That's $1 million a year business. I mean, that's
bro. What the hell?
Yeah. So that's how I.
Yeah, that was the last thing I was expecting you to say, for real. Okay, but, so is this something that you're actively like? Have you been doing this for other clients as well? So you're also doing consulting. You're doing a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, so I don't really do consulting anymore. I used to for forever. Like I would come in and especially for early stage startups. That's my bread and butter, what I love, right? So it's like, hey, we built a product. We know there's an audience. How do I build distribution to them? And like, I live for that, building basically that bridge and these owned rails that we can put media on. We can get in front of them. Yeah. We do like this type of, it's just productized services, right? It's like a very small scope of focus. But I'm not even talking about them in public. It's just like friends and friends of friends companies that were kind of getting into it. But they're only like 12-ish months old, but as the year goes on, I'll probably roll these out as more of like public things. But anyway,
So would you do this for just like a normal SaaS as well? Like reach out to, so let's say I'm building Clicks.so, you reach out to like all the users that,
every SEO person that you could find in Apollo that has it in their job title. I would scrape every one of them and I would try to hit like all 5 million of them in the next 12 months, basically. And then just work backwards of, okay, I need this many inboxes, right? The bigger thing too is like it gets your personal name out there, right? It's like, I just sent whatever 1 million emails with Jaham in the name, right? And it's going to basically like that's an aspect of this that I don't think people think about. It's like people think about cold email as this very transactional thing. Like what we've seen in our data is like if I send 100,000 cold emails, like 1% of those people will just go and sign up for the software. Like this is actual Swell AI data, right? Wow. So it's without talking to us, right? So like what we do to prove this is we go and we basically look at our sign up data. We look at the cold email data and we just are like, okay, who did we cold email in this last month and who signed up? And that's that crossover, right? But that's the percentage that we see. And so then when you work the numbers down, it's like, okay, cool. I sent 100,000 cold emails, 1% of them signed up, and then 5% of that 1% turn into a paying customer. And then I can start to like work backwards. Okay, the cost for me to send this many emails is this. This is how much, you know, MRR this turned into for me. What's the customer lifetime value of all those people I added? And then you can work out the unit economics of if that's effective. But you know, to take a step back, like and talk about this at a higher level, the how you make companies grow quickly is you layer on growth strategies on top of each other, right? Yep. So it's like, okay, cool. I'm going to go do transactional things first. This is what I always tell like early stage companies. So like, we're going to do Google ads and Facebook ads and cold email and cold DMs, all of these things that like tomorrow will create revenue. So once I've kind of set those up, I figured them out, I've automated them, then I start to layer on all of these longer term investments, right? So think about it as a financial portfolio. Like when you're a young company, like you're investing most of your resources and you know, the things that you need today, right? Like you're trying to pay your housing and your food, and like you're not really putting that, you know, that long term, you're not investing long term, right? So when you think about the you know, the pie of your resources, 80% of it is the short term, 20% of it is the long term, right? As your company matures, then you start to you know, shift that allocation. So over time, 20% is in the short term, 80% is into long term, right? And so what I mean by that, you know, so you did all these transactional things first, and then from there, that's when you start layering on. Okay, I'm layering on SEO. I'm layering on, you know, short form social that can go viral. I'm building a YouTube channel. Yeah, exactly. Any of these things that don't have really an immediate impact in the next 90 days, but could have, you know, will have an impact 12 plus months from now, right? And then it's by layering those growth curves, that's actually how you break, you know, the laws of physics in business. Yeah, otherwise it's like this linear thing, right? Like with email, it's like I can only send so much email, but when I combine all of these things together and create as many touch points as possible, that's when you start to see that, oh, I can make these companies like, it's like, I mean, when you see these graphs, right, of like curves just going stupid, like vertical, that's what's actually happening behind the scenes. Yeah. And I say this, and there's all this nuance too as well, like something, you know, that I know just from the industry, like when you look at like rippling.com, this actually is like they entirely grew off of cold email. So here's how they did it, which is insane. They were sending so much transactional email from their core domain that they could basically send like 1 million cold emails per month from their core domain, but it was such a small fraction of the total email that was being sent that they could hide it. And so like, you know, cold email, like over time, the way I just talked about it, where it's like, okay, I bought domains from Cloudflare. I set up inboxes with Microsoft. I'm using SmartLead. What happens naturally is that you see a decay of that inbox over time. So these email inboxes, they basically have like a deliverability lifespan, right? Yep. And so as you send this cold email, you'll just see deliverability decay, right? And when I say buying domains, what I'm talking about is just variations of your company, right? So it's like exampleapp.com, you know, exampletool.com, example, like just different, you know, 10 different variations of your domain name. And what you're doing is you're literally like burning those domains. Do not do this from your core domain, for the love of God. Please do not do this.
Yeah, I was going to say
have that separation. Yeah. But but you know, when you look at, again, like a Rippling, like all they did was just cold email. That was their entire growth strategy. But they had an arbitrage because they were sending so much transactional email. And so like a lot of the times growth is just figuring out these arbitrages. And then how do I invest as much as I can in that place, so that, you know, while that moment in time, because all of these things, and as every SEO knows, right? Like there's a moment in time for arbitrage, and then like that goes away, right? And so it's like, how do I capitalize on that? And then also like, you know, be mitigating my risk long term as well. So if that does evaporate, like what is this thing I can lean back on? So anyways, I'm monologuing, but there you go.
No, that's insane. And also thanks for breaking down all the different steps. I think that's super rare. Like most people are just like, no, go do cold email, but no, it tells you exactly
tactical piece, baby. That's I live for that. I don't know. I'm a child of the YouTube, right? Like my entire career is just based off of other people that have provided all this information for free in public. And so I don't know. Everybody's always like, I get this so much on Twitter. Like, when is the course? When is the course? And I'm like, I'll never do a course. Like, I think that like personally is an injustice to the community, right? Yeah. And also it's just, there's so much like spam in it. Like I look at like, you know, some of these creators where it's like, yo, you're not doing anything that you're actually talking about, right? Because if you were, you would be focusing on it. And so anyways, for me, it's like, just tell me what you want to know and we'll make a YouTube video and it'll go live tomorrow, right? Like that's
all right. Okay, so next distribution channel LinkedIn, dude. You're posting a lot about LinkedIn Shorts, which apparently that feature hasn't arrived. I'm in Spain, so it hasn't arrived to Spain yet. But most of this audience is in the US, UK, English-speaking countries. They should be able to see LinkedIn Shorts, right?
Probably, yes. From what we're seeing and what I'm hearing from friends in each of those geographies. So basically what's happening right now is like LinkedIn is having a moment. I have a friend that has 7,000 followers that did 2.7 million impressions last month on LinkedIn. So what is going on is that on video. Yeah. So what is going on is that LinkedIn is rolling out a For You page feed, just like Twitter rolled out For You page, just like Instagram Reels, just like TikTok, just like YouTube Shorts. It's basically, hey, we're just going to show you whatever is going to keep you on platform longest, right? And so video is that thing, and so they do that. So the difference, though, with LinkedIn is that there's nobody competing in this, right? So it's this blue ocean. So if you throw stuff up in there, like I had a video last week at 165,000 views, and it's like, you know, it's not that good in all honesty. Like all I'm talking about is how to get placed on podcasts, right? Like it's like, here's how to find like podcasts, podcast forms, like guest forms, basically, just walking through that process. And so the arbitrage here is basically you create the same content that you would make for TikTok, and you upload it directly. Like I'm just using the desktop app, like the desktop web app for this. I upload directly into LinkedIn, and that video goes into the For You feed. The For You feed is just on mobile. So if you're on mobile, go and like if you're trying to check to see if it's in your country, like go and click on a video on mobile. If it's live in your country, what's going to happen is you're going to drop into this like other like infinite scroll video feed. And you can just like, what we're seeing is people just scrolling down through these, right? And they get sucked into the vortex, which is B2B. Like we're calling it link talk, just like between all the people that I'm like we're doing this with. But this, I mean, again, to create these videos, like it's the same strategy. It's like have a hook, show them something insightful. And like, I'm just doing it in Descript with like my iPhone, right? So it's like, I sit down and I record, and it's like, I just take my most banger tweets and I'm just repurposing them there. It's the same content, right?
Yeah.
Really how I use this and pair this together is like, I write 70 tweets a week for Twitter. So I sit down every Sunday and I just like, it sounds crazy. It's not. I'll lay out how to do this. So write 70 tweets a week, schedule them out. And then I look at the data each week and I'm like, okay, cool. These were the top performers out of that 70 that went. Let's go make 7 videos. So a video a day for LinkedIn. And I've been dropping the ball on this. We've had other stuff going on. So I'm just a tinkerer, right? I try to figure these things out, and then I want to go build companies that I can sell this to other people, right? So, but anyways, so then you take those videos, you publish them, etc. To take a step back to the Twitter side of this, when you're writing these tweets, like I'm not actually writing new ideas, right? So like I exported all of the data from Twitter of everything I've ever published, right? And I have that filtered by total impressions. And so each week I sit down and I just like remix the most banger ones that have ever happened on my Twitter over and over again. So it's the same ideas, but just like different takes on it, right? So same song, different baseline or whatever, right? And that's how you can get this volume out at scale. But I mean, if you there's tweets that I know I wrote 6 months ago, and every time I post them, every 60 days I post them, and they go viral, right? You don't have to reinvent the wheel over and over again. It's just basically have a data set that's big enough that you can just come back to. And a lot of social is just that, right? Like every 90 days you can cycle through the same ideas. You don't have to be talking about new stuff. But I think and then this is the grind with making content that I think a lot of people mess up on, is like, you don't have to have a novel thing every time, right? If you want to burn out, that's how to burn out, right?
100%.
I mean, and so also the other piece of this too is like all of this content should fuel something else, right? It should fuel a business that you own. I mean, I see this so often with creators that they just don't make money, like full stop. Like I have friends that like they are making, I think it's like 20 grand a month, and they get like probably 20 million plus views across all channels.
That's crazy.
And it's like that's for the amount of work they're doing, and they're hustling, right? Like I'm like, you could easily have a multi-million-dollar a year business if you just you just sold some service rather than doing like deals with affiliate deals with brands,
sponsorships. Exactly.
Like you're you're taking a 1% margin off of, you know, this, what you're providing them. And in reality, like there's so much more that just like capture of value that they can have when they have some type of business that they're selling through these things. So,
okay. So, but just going back to LinkedIn, then there seems it's like a gold rush moment right now on LinkedIn.
100%. 100%. I've
Especially
seen 3 of these in my career like this.
shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you don't have access, you're fucked.
Portugal doesn't, from what I know.
Yeah.
It looks
Spain
like
doesn't. I'm not.
Yeah. So they're going to roll it out is basically what it looks like. And the people that we know that have relationships with LinkedIn, because we know some like LinkedIn ads partners. So they're, you know, they have a direct line of communication, like with, because they're just spending a fuck ton of money, to be blunt, with them. So they like have a rep. And so it's going to roll out is what it looks like, but LinkedIn just moves slow, right? It's, you know, it's 3 to 5 years behind what's happening in the general market. So
yeah, but that's exciting. That's exciting. So
100%.
Short form on LinkedIn, massive opportunity.
I have a friend, he has 500 followers and he did like 750,000 views, right? Jeez. Like, and it was like a couple videos went viral, but he's doing a couple a day. I think he's doing like 2 or 3 a day. But this is the opportunity, right? Especially if you're in, like, again, you're selling services. It's like, here's, you know, say you're doing like local SEO for, I don't know, like HVAC companies, or, you know, your audience obviously has to be there, right? Like that's a part of this, but maybe it's like for financial service companies or lawyers, right? I would just talk through like, here's like, we just got this lawyer 25 leads for, you know, trucking injury or, you know, whatever that ends up being. And then just walk through the process, right? And like that will go viral. It's going to naturally show to the people that are lawyers and this. That just creates inbound for you, creates that top of funnel, right? But you have to have something that takes them further. I think that's the thing that people mess up with on social, like short form social. People don't buy from short form social. They only discover from short form social. So if you're selling a high ticket item, you have to get them into a piece of long form content, right? So use that short form to get them into a podcast, get them into a YouTube video, get them into, you know, some type of long form written content. We're finding that, you know, just podcasts are the most effective way to sell high ticket stuff when it's service based, because I mean, just think about it, right? If I can have a person sit down with me for an hour a week for 6 weeks and hear me spew whatever, just knowledge about their industry, there's so much trust that's going to be built in that. So, and this is what we see, right? It's like, it's a demand generation activity that then leads for them when they come to make a, you know, that purchasing decision. They're already buyer ready. Like we jump on a sales call and they're like, cool, where do I sign? What's the onboarding steps? Like, you don't have to convince me, I'm already there. Right. And so that's how like these things fit together. And so when you think about LinkedIn, it's just that top of funnel. And then you're trying to get them into like something that I'm seeing working really effectively right now is like an email nurture, like educational campaign. My friend Andy Mewborn does this super effectively. Go look at him on LinkedIn. And I think he has 184,000 followers on LinkedIn or something like that. But he basically makes this content and then he pushes them to this like email like course, or is really what it probably is, that just like teaches them how to do the most effective. He does what are they called? It's basically they make like one sheets for salespeople. It's like a software for that, but just like how to make the most effective one sheets to get conversions on your pipeline. So, but yeah.
Damn, dude, you're making me think. No, these are all really good ideas. So, okay, this is also a like content I've made on this channel is like 98% SEO. So we have to talk about SEO. How are you using SEO in these high growth ideas, these high growth strategies? I saw you post about programmatic. Before we talk about programmatic, anything else you're doing before programmatic?
Yeah. So I can probably talk about the origin and how we like ended up here. We were doing this with like human levels before. So if you go look up, I mean, you're all SEOs, right? Go to Ahrefs or SEMrush and look up rupahealth.com. Like you're going to see an unreal graph, right? And so early on, we were like, SEO is going to be this huge channel for us. So we invested heavily in it. But I think they're doing like 500,000 in traffic a month now, about 2 years or after we started the initial campaign. Nothing insane, but in the medical world, I mean, it's really good. Especially for them with like the value of a customer, right? So, but they went way broader. They went to like more consumer as well, because there's like there's an opportunity for them to kind of like go into the consumer space. But that whole initial strategy is like, we just did straight up the keywords we went for were like functional medicine for XYZ, right? okay, here's
So just
all
long
of these
tail.
long tail
Yeah.
keywords. Let's build out a template, and then we're going to go have a writing team. So that same idea, you can like do that with AI writers now. The thing though, so we started Swell AI. I built an internal AI writing tool, and then we spun out this company because I was talking about it in public. It's called drafthorseai.com. Just one of those AI, like write hundreds, thousands of SEO optimized articles in minutes. You give it a target keyword, and then it writes the article, and you can publish it, to WordPress, etc. So that went viral on Twitter. This was like probably a year ago, and we got to like 10K MRR in 30 days. But yeah, it was wild. We're not really focused on it now because it's just, there's so many people in this space and the churn is so high on a tool like that.
Yeah.
People come in, they do a data dump, and then they bounce, right? So the opportunity though on the programmatic side is like writing from the general knowledge of the AI actually doesn't create like the best content from a ranking standpoint and from just like a dwell time. And does a user, it's like, this is the only way that Google can really measure this now, right? It's like, is the person actually reading this? Like how much time are they spending on site, right? And, or are they clicking and going deeper into the site? And so what we're really, what I'm obsessed with right now, and we'll probably build this in the draft horse is where this will go, is basically scraping what is ranking currently on page 1 for the target keyword that we're going after, putting that into the context window, and then using like Claude Sonnet to then go and write a blog post based off of what is in that context window. So if you go and you search Google ads for apartments right now, you'll see me in position 3. I think my website's down. My team messaged me this morning because it's on this like shared server, and we have honestly just this like degenerate site that has a cease and desist that we haven't taken down yet. But anyways, so that is an entirely AI written article that is based off of that strategy I just described. So you don't have to build this though. You can just do this with Perplexity Pro, and a lot of people already probably know this, but Perplexity Pro has Claude Sonnet built into it and Claude Opus. You can go in and prompt, write a 2,000 word blog post about XYZ keyword, and it's going to one-shot write an article that like we are seeing rank, on like sites that have domain authorities of like 15, right? I mean, it's insane. And then these are long tail keywords, right? But when you actually look at the time spent on site, it's really, really high, right? Because you're not writing from the general knowledge of the AI. You're writing what is ranking currently on Google for that target keyword. And so because of that, it's almost like how we used to make skyscraper content. It's the same. It's the same thing. It's like I'm taking all this information and data, and then I'm like synthesizing it into this new piece of content, and almost making this like super content or whatever you want to call it, right? And so that is like where I see this like huge opportunity when we're thinking about programmatic. But the ways that like I have a friend that's doing this for a company right now. They're basically taking like every keyword related to how to Excel. They built like an Airtable competitor or like a Notion competitor is the software. But they're doing like how to Excel, and then every variations of that. He built out this like programmatic template, and then he's having AI write all of those. But I posted a graph on Twitter. It would have been probably like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but it's like literally just this vertical thing.
Yeah, it's
but
insane.
They're using the same idea of like, we're taking the knowledge that's already, what's ranking on Google currently to then fill out that template. And because of that, because it's not writing from the general knowledge of the AI, it's writing from what is ranking currently. The content quality, like, is this actually true, is high, right? And so it's like actually answering the query that people are searching for. And so this is this way to kind of do this at scale. So that's one part of this. The other thing that we just launched this company this last weekend is called landingcat.com. Bought the domain for $2,100. I'm hyped. I love it. But the idea is basically, so we built Draft Horse. We had it. We had e-commerce companies using us, and they're like, "Hey, this is great for blog posts. I want to do this, but for like all of my different product collections, like my categories, because that's an actually higher converting landing page." And so what we ended up building is this software. We take a step back, like how do marketplaces actually make money, right? So like if you look at Etsy or Houzz or Amazon, even like, why are they multi-billion-dollar companies? It's because they have millions of landing pages that they're dynamically creating. But traditionally, I would need an engineering team of 150 plus people to like build this out internally. But now, like, you can do this like in what we built is in this way where it's like it's just software that's kind of handling like what this used to be. You don't need to build all this custom solutions internally. But what we end up doing is we find they're like highest converting collection pages. We then go and we build out. We find every long tail keyword for related to those products, and then we build out a landing page for every one of those long tail keywords. And have AI write a short like paragraph underneath that. And then there's like 50 products of their best-selling products related to that category, right? And so what that ends up happening is like we can build 100,000 landing pages. All these landing pages we're using basically we're building the pages are cached, so they load almost instantly, right? So then we go and we build multiple cloud projects within Google Cloud. We then use the Google Web Indexing API to do calls to each of those pages that we built. And you can do 200 calls per day per project. So if you have 20 projects, and that's the limit it looks like on most of these accounts. I think we figured out a way around this. I'd have to talk to my co-founder Max on how we're doing this now. But basically, with 20 projects, you can do 4,000 calls a day, right? So in a month, you can do 120,000 like indexing calls. And because these load so quickly, we can get these pages to index, right? So like we just indexed 13,000 pages in like 48 hours for this client. It's already created revenue for them. Like it created like $327 in revenue. Like we're still figuring out the funnel optimization and that piece, but I'm over here and it's like it created about 400-ish in session traffic and turned into $327 in revenue. That's like 80 cents per session that we create. So what happens when we scale that up to 100,000 to 1 million, right? And you know the question I always get asked is like, well, what's the spam on this? I'm like, yo, the big dogs are already doing this. And this is why they're huge. Also, like it's a good answer to the query, right? Like just what we were talking about when like we're writing content based off of what is ranking currently, like that what we're building. If somebody searches like XYZ keyword that's related to e-commerce and they land on a page with those products and then they buy one of those products, like that's a good search result to Google, right? That all the signals are that through that whole funnel are correct. So they don't care about the volume. They're just trying to create like the best experience. And also with these e-com companies, like since it is a real company and like people are inputting their credit card information and making a purchase based off these pages that we send, like in the eyes of Google, they look at that. That's positive, right? So anyway, yeah, that's kind of all the programmatic stuff I'm seeing currently.
Yeah,
so.
No, I think e-com companies probably are the best use cases for that because there's been a lot. Like as soon as AI exploded, everyone was trying to just publish the shit ton of programmatic pages.
And I got clapped, right? Like I have blog posts that got nuked, and they were driving like, you know, some of them were driving like 6K in new MRR a month to like softwares that I own, and just went to zero. So and we're trying to resurrect them just like everybody. I
just wanted to warrant that there's been a lot of people that have gotten destroyed because it also depends.
If you're not getting clapped though, like are you even trying at this point? Like this is the game, right? Like me and Jackie talk about this like in public on Twitter all the time. Like if you're not pushing the envelope with stuff, I'm not saying
Jackie loves getting clapped.
No, this is the game, man. And I know a lot of people are risk averse, but I'm talking about like you have to understand where that threshold is if you're trying to win. Because like otherwise, like you're just competing against everybody else, right?
No, of course.
So, anyways, I can go deep. I have my opinion is like, why are you? If you're not doing this, like, I don't even think you're playing at the level that you could. That's like the highest level, right? So.
For sure. But all I was gonna say is that there's been a lot of people that tried it like in affiliate niches, and you got to be careful with that.
1000%.
If you don't have like a solid brand behind it, I think it can.
I was just about to say that. So. All of the companies or all the sites that I have that got clapped didn't have a solid brand, and all of the like we have this one that's in a medical space, but we're like partnered with this company, right? And so like we write, you know, we author these articles from the perspective of like the business owner who has a public profile, like they go on podcasts, right, and they are active on LinkedIn and all these things, and so. For those, we didn't see like it's all AI written content, right? Like the entire, and I'm talking about like 20,000 plus pages of AI written content that's in their niche, right? But it's driving for them, like it's still driving insane amount of traffic for them. Like they get like it's something stupid. It's close to like I think 250 ebook downloads a day across all of the pages, which to them like that just turns into like they just sell like. You know, this higher ticket item for because it's a medical educational course type deal, right? And so anyway, I think that brand is more important than ever for all of these products. And having it like, are you real, right? Like that's all that they care about, and like, are you actually an authority in this? I say that, and then simultaneously, like I'm over here and like we're just starting an experiment with sites where it's like, okay, this idea of just writing based off of what's ranking currently, what happens when you do that, right?
Right.
And it's looks like it's working. I don't really know, but So,
I just think you have much higher odds when your brand also has gotten a shit ton of backlinks. Like you have something that Google trusts, right? And especially nowadays, right? It's more important.
The only thing that I would push back on is that I think exact match domains are still a huge opportunity with this type of stuff, right? So it's like you do XYZ, law, some location, right? And build out like 20 pages. I think we're going to partner with a company and we're building out a piece of software for them that does this. So they can just like go spin up like every exact match domains. Like they basically would buy the exact match domain, and then we'll spin up a website for them, and it'll, they'll do the whole build out and then do a revenue partnership with them. But I think that kind of still works, especially because it's like, oh, I can just go get backlinks and I like just exact match keyword backlinks, right? Do niche edits. And like, I mean, I own software like Chrome extensions that it's literally just that. It's like ZillowScraper.com as an example. It's like one that I own. And it's all it is. Like we just did exact match and anyways, build some links out to it. So
sick. Moving on from SEO, what are your like favorite trends right now? And I did say that I wasn't going to ask you about businesses you would start, but what business would you start on any trends that are kind of popping off right now?
Yeah, totally.
I saw you posted about like AI girlfriends. Is that crazy
data? I will do nothing in it. But there's a huge uptick, especially in San Francisco. Like what we've seen is like a ton of these cracked founders are all like, they all have AI girlfriends and they're like 22 or 23. It's the wildest thing. I feel like I got the last chopper out of Nam from a dating standpoint. It's just about to get insane right now. But what I'm always looking for is just like business opportunities. I think a huge one right now I think you could print money is basically building out a piece of software that does email code generation. So like, when you build like an email template out, right? It's like program. If anybody's ever programmed an email template, it is the most mind-numbing piece of like programming that exists. AI is incredibly good at it. So imagine you have like on the left side of the web app, it's just like a terminal or like a prompt, right? And it's writing code below that. And then on the right side, it's like actually rendering that code so you can see what the email looks like. But if you go and you search, email code generator, right? Like great search volume, huge. AI is a perfect fit for that. I think that is how I'd go build this. I'd find an offshore dev team like in Bulgaria or like Romania. You could probably get this out the door for like $5,000 with them. And then I would go and I would just straight up cold email I would go scrapeclutch.com. I would cold email every agency that does cold email like programming, right? Or sorry, that does email template programming is what they would call it. And be like, yo, we built this tool that basically, helps that bid on Google ads, pixel across, pixel those people with like the Google ads pixel, the Facebook ads pixel, the LinkedIn ads pixel. Anybody that touches the website that you send from this traffic, you then just remarket to them indefinitely into the future, right? And then go and write a ton of SEO content for everything related to email template programming, right? So any long tail keyword that you could find. Again, just use that same strategy. It's like just use Perplexity Pro to write these articles, publish them. And like that's easily a 20K a month type of company that you could build with like as a solo founder.
It's insane that like the first thing that you think about is cold email. It's fucking crazy. 100%. I've never thought about it like that. Like it's transactional. I don't know.
And the volume, man. Like think about like if I cold email 1 million people, what happens? Like I'm over here and I'm thinking about this. Like if I cold, like I think there's 200 million people that I can get out of like Apollo, like that database, right? Like what happens if I just cold email every one of them? And that's what I'm thinking, like, because I'm curious. Like, I don't even know what I would sell them or like what the offer would look like. But what happens? Like, what happens if my name lands in 200 million inboxes over the next, 3 years? I don't know. I don't know the answer, but I found it again. You're looking in early stages of companies. You're looking for transactional activities that make revenue tomorrow. You're not trying to make revenue, 10 months from now or 12 months from now. Unless you're already sustainable, right? Like you don't do that long-term investment, like unless your mortgage is paid, there's food on the table, and the baby's fed, right? Like otherwise, it doesn't make sense for the company. You don't even know if it's going to be there in 12 months. Why are you investing in SEO? Like you don't even know if it's alive. It's going to be alive. But let's talk about your software. I would love to just jam on like what is acquisition that's working for you currently, and like let's just go deeper on what I think, you know, based off like I've seen.
Absolutely, why not? So YouTube is working extremely well. Just
amazing.
Just
how do you
building
scale it
an
up?
audience. How do I scale YouTube?
Yeah,
I mean shorts. I guess
what's your volume? What's your volume? Your video volume on a weekly basis?
How many views do I get like on a weekly?
No. How many videos are you publishing weekly?
Like one a week.
How do you get that up to do like 3 a week?
I don't know. I gotta. Yeah.
What is it like? Keywords that you're going after, or is it like how to SEO?
No, it's just time. Honestly, it's just time. Like some of these videos take time preparing everything, scripts.
Totally.
So that's why
is it like an editing piece of it, or is it just the sitting down? Is it the script writing?
It's the sitting down.
Let me intro you to my friend Brian. He can probably handle all this for you.
I'm down.
Yeah, he owns this company called viralbangers.com. They do script writing and then also like all the post-production editing. They rip. They're unbelievable, but I think you could probably scale up your volume like with something like that. But so if YouTube is working for you, probably short form will work for you across all of the platforms. Just the same ideas, but in a bullet point list format. How are you doing? Like, is there any other
affiliates working extremely well?
I could totally see that. Absolutely.
Because I'm giving a 30% recurring commission. So
all day.
Maybe there's like 5 or 10 people that sign up every day.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the affiliate revenue is at, but there's people making like, I think $200 or $300 a month already. And it's like a 3-month-old business. What else?
So I would take those payout numbers and I would publish those on Twitter and do it on a weekly basis. Like we just paid out these affiliates, blah, blah, blah. They did content like XYZ, like join our affiliate program to make money as well. And it'll naturally go viral and you're going to get more affiliate inbound from that by doing that. So.
Yeah. And then that's basically all I'm doing so far because I'm also building the product. I'm doing it like 100%.
Oh my God.
So
are you programming it as well? Or oh my, holy shit. Let's go, baby. Hell yeah.
That's why there's not that much time to like do more.
You need set and forget type of stuff then is what it sounds like. Okay.
Which I really like the email thing. I'd never thought about the email thing. Just like
100%. Just as many as you can. Try to get it in as many SEOs inboxes by the end of this year, right? And like, I'm happy to. We'll figure out a time we can sit down and I'll show you just this whole thing. Like we could plug this in. It's
that'll be off the pod.
Yeah, off the pod exactly. But
no, that's incredible.
I think there's probably a huge play for you on like Google Ads as well. I know it's this incredibly competitive space, but I feel like you could probably do performance max ads to people that have searched for those keywords previously. So they've searched like SEO tools or something like that. What's your differentiation? Like how are you coming to the market that's like different than what's currently out there?
It's
simpler.
It's more, it's simple, beginner friendly, and it's affordable. But I don't want to push the affordable side as much. It's more like the beginner friendly because a lot of these tools you log in and you log into Ahrefs and you have no idea what's going on. 100%. There's so many tabs. SEMrush has 150 different tools that you never end up using. So it's the 4 core tools and that's it. And it's $25 a month. And it's everything you need.
That's amazing. So talk to me. What are people using the most out of the product? Like out of those 4 features that you're
keyword research super popular. Yeah. Everyone's doing keyword research and then mostly competitor analysis. They want to check
YouTube is working for you and affiliates working for you. My friend runs this company. They are in the e-com space, but all they do, they're I think they're doing 7 million ARR a year, or 7 million ARR now, and they're about like 3.5 years old. But all he did was went and sponsored YouTubers to basically like show the product. And then he does a recurring affiliate commission with them. So he goes and he pays them, whatever it is. I think it ranges from like $300 to $800 per video. And then they also get the recurring affiliate commission on top of that. But with these, he get what he's found. And so the angle to do this is you find these people, cold email them. You can scrape their emails off of YouTube. So if you go to the about page of a YouTube channel, all of them will have their emails there. Go to Fiverr. You can hire a guy. You can go scrape 20,000 emails in like a day from this. Validate the emails, send out a cold email and be like, paid collaboration, make that the subject line that you're sending out through. Be like, love your content, want to work with you. Could I get a rate sheet? They'll come back to you with a rate sheet and then be like, hey, I want to do 3 videos with you to start with. The reason for that is that if you just do a single video, it won't be as impactful as like 3 from the same channel. There's more trust built into that. And then go to a video a month. And then you like that, like you could probably scale up YouTube, like without having to go and do it yourself. Because your bandwidth, especially if you're, if you're doing distribution and also engineering, like your time is going to become like the biggest constraint in all of this, right?
Yeah.
So then it's like, okay, how do I figure out these relationships with it? Anyways, if I was in your shoes, I'd do that all day long, and then just go deep on YouTube as a channel. If that's working, how do I get 10? How do I get 10 affiliates? How do I get 30 affiliates that are every month posting a video that's showing, okay, here's how to use this product in some way, part of their workflow. Maybe it's keyword research or whatever, like you're doing, go reach out to people that are doing niche site videos, etc. That could be the angle. But anyways,
insane, dude. I appreciate it. I appreciate
it. Of course, man. Yeah. I mean, you probably have thought about a ton of these things, but I think
but it's good to hear also. Yeah, it's good to hear.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. The biggest thing is, like, for anybody growing anything, is whatever is working, do more of that. Like, how do you do as much of that as possible? Right. And so.
Bro, those are all the questions I had for you. Anything else you want to talk about? Any like experiments or anything you want to shout out?
Oh man, I have no idea. The only thing that would probably be interesting to your audience that we're just starting to experiment with, I just got intro to these kids out of Italy, and they basically can make like TikTok clouds, is what I'm calling them. So imagine like 1,000 different TikToks that are on virtual machines that they publish content across every day.
Holy hell. Yeah.
So the early data I just saw from them, they had 100 accounts running. It did 3.2 million views across all the accounts in a 30-day period. And so, there's this company called Media Scaling. If you go to like mediascaling.com, they do this, but it's all like manual. I think like Iman Ghazi, and they, like, any of these people that like came out of nowhere, they worked with Media Scaling. That's why this happened. So they're running multiple of these channels, of these short form social channels across all of these, like, imagine 20 different TikToks, 20 different Instagrams, 20 different YouTube shorts, etc. So what we're like exploring is like, hey, can we do this, but with virtual machines? And these kids are like ex cybersecurity, they like worked in the military basically. And so long story short, it looks like you could basically like have 1,000 TikTok accounts and publish across all of them simultaneously. Like, so, scale that up with 100 to 3.2. Can I do 30 million with 1,000? And like, basically overnight, you could hypothetically, like, Andrew Tate somebody, right? But imagine that for a brand, imagine that for a product, right? Honestly, I think short form social could be a huge channel for you with your software in that way, right? And have the same hook. It's like, here's how to do SEO for your blah, blah, blah business. Maybe it's a bakery, right? Just pick every type of local business. And it's like, okay, like, go to this website, sign up for free, input whatever your flow is. And it's like, it's going to do all the keyword research for you. And then, just walk through that whole piece. A lot of the times, if you show data too, like, this company like grew blah, blah, blah by doing this, right? And so then it's just figuring out that type of content template that's a repeatable thing. So you're not like with content, you're trying to not think, right? Like, why are podcasts the most unbelievable form of content? It's because you, as the host, get to invite on people like me to come in and talk for an hour, right? But all of that value is related to you. You basically capture that value and share it to your audience, and people relate all the value that was created to yourself, right? And so it's a way to basically like use other people, like their expertise, as a way to make content. And so it's kind of, I think it's that same idea with looking at the short, like, all of this is how I don't even know, man. The biggest thing is you're just trying not to burn out is really what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's the number one thing.
Anyway.
All right, man. Cody,
sweet, man.
Thanks so much thanks for taking the time. Where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm most active on Twitter and LinkedIn. Those are kind of the two places. Reach out if you want to connect.
Great Twitter follow. 100%.
Love to chat. Always excited to meet people in the industry.
Yeah,
so,
man. I appreciate it so much. Thank you, man. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, brother.
All right. Hold on.